All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about trigonometry word problems and how these might appear. I will mention that for the next few assignments, we're going back to the program we were using. It's called Problematic. One of the reasons we're going back is different online learning programs do a better job at asking different types of questions. So there were questions that we used Delta Math for, because they were important. Delta Math did a much better job than Problematic at answering those questions. Now we're on a few topics where just Problematic does a much better job. So we're trying to keep one system, but at the same time, we need to do what's best and what's going to be most easy for us and what's going to provide us with the best resources. So don't think that Delta Math is gone. We may come back to it. It really just depends topic to topic. So today's lesson is going to start, it's kind of going to be a 2-day extension lesson, kind of not. The reason I say that is we're going to be talking about trig word problems today. And one of the things with trig word problems is that there's really a part 2 to this that we're going to talk specifically about angle of depression, angle of elevation. So sticking with that angle of depression, angle of elevation, that'll be the video for Wednesday. But today, Monday, our video will be more on just general word problems. The key to these word problems, 2 keys. The first key is SohCahToa, write it out. Okay, make sure that you have the resources that you need to solve something like this. And then the second key is you gotta draw a picture. If you don't draw a picture, there's no way you're gonna be able to solve it. So we're going to go through just a couple of examples together, try and get you on the right track, and kind of give you an idea of where we're headed. So in a rectangle, the length of a diagonal is 15, and the length of the shorter side is 7. Okay, so we're going to draw exactly what they tell us to draw. We're going to draw a rectangle. Now they told us the diagonal is 15. So there's my diagonal, label it 15. The length of the shorter side is 7, so there's my shorter side. Find to the nearest degree the number of degrees in the angle formed by the diagonal and the longer side. So they're specifically telling me here that I want this angle here because that's the angle formed between the diagonal, which goes corner to corner, and the longer side of the rectangle. So now I've got to figure out, well, what am I talking about? Well, there's a right triangle in this. So what I'm really looking at here is a right triangle trig problem, a SohCahToa problem. It's just in word problem form. So I have my 15. That happens to be the hypotenuse because that is opposite. It's across from the 90-degree angle. And then the 7 is opposite the angle I have in general, so that's going to be my opposite side. I don't know anything about my adjacent side. So since we're talking about opposite and hypotenuse, I'm going to be using the sine of x is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. And so when I plug in, I will get the sine of x is equal to 7 over 15. Okay, now you'll notice they said to round to the nearest degree, so we've got to round to the nearest degree. Now, this is going to be one where I don't know the angle, and so since the angle is missing, I need to use my arc sine. So I'm going to be using the arc sine of 7 over 15, and that's going to be my angle x. So we'll be able to figure out what x is, and then we will go to round. So what I need to do here is I need to pull up my calculator. Okay, and so what we're going to try and do here, let's see if we can get this to go. I think we can, but there we go. So remember, first thing you always want to check is to make sure that you are in degree mode. So that's the third option. You just want to make sure that degree is highlighted. So once you've checked that you're in degree mode, it's second sine and then 7 over 15. And again, I'll just remind you that I'm using the Calculate 84 app. That's for Apple products. If you have an Android type product, you can actually download the actual TI-84 calculator as an app. So we hit enter, we get 27.8 and so on. we're rounding to the nearest degree, so this is going to be 28 degrees. Now, when you're plugging this in to the program, you don't have to put a degree symbol. You don't even have to write x equals. You can just put 28 in. That's all you have to do. All right, let's look at another example. So this time, sometimes they will come with pictures. Sometimes you have to draw the pictures. Either way, there should be tons of markings all over your picture. I'm going to do is attach blank copies of this so that you can, both the assignment and the, well, not the assignment. The assignment you could just print, but the notes, so that if you need to, you can see, you know, what the notes are, so you can take notes as we go along with this video. All right, so they're a 20-foot ladder leaned up against a wall, and it makes a 58-degree angle with the ground. Find to the nearest foot the vertical distance from the top of the ladder to the ground. So they're asking me for this distance here. Okay, so I know that my 90-degree angle is here, so that makes the 20-foot the hypotenuse. And going across, I know that my x then is going to be my opposite side. So going back to SohCahToa, I'm going to use sine again. But this time, it's not sine of x, it's the sine of 58 degrees. Now that'll be equal to x, the opposite, over 20, the hypotenuse. And if you remember what we do next, now that we have this set up, we'll put the sine of 58 over 1, and we will cross multiply. So we'll get 20 times the sine of 58, and that's equal to x. Now, this is something here, the way this problem was set up, you have to understand that every problem, the algebra might be a little bit different. You just have to solve for the algebra. But when you have sine and then a number, not sine of x, but sine and then a number, you can just plug that into the calculator, meaning I can just plug in sine 20 times the sine of 58. And I get 16.96. I'll leave some space. They've asked me to round to the nearest foot, so this will be 17 feet. And again, you don't have to worry about x equals. You don't have to put the feet. You just have to enter 17 for the question. Okay. Okay, there we go. I like that better. Okay, so as shown in the accompanying diagram, a kite is flying at the end of a 25-meter string. If the string makes an angle of 65 degrees with the ground, how high to the nearest meter is the kite? So that's our side x that we're going to label. So again, you start by labeling what sides you have. Well, across from our 90-degree angle is the hypotenuse. We always label that first. Opposite the angle, that's going to be our opposite side, and then clearly that side with no numbers is the adjacent. So we have here another sine example. They just happen to be the most popular example, but if you were to see a cosine or a tangent example, you could use those just the same. So we go to include those, and we're going to set up our trig ratio. So again, we know the angle. We don't have an x, we know the angle, so it'll be sine of 65 is equal to x over 25. Now I get a lot of questions, well, how did I know it was sine? I knew it was sine because I was using the opposite and I was using the hypotenuse. So if you're still struggling with that, go back and watch that video on SohCahToa. That video there will really help you out. We're going to put our sine of 65 over 1, and we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to get 25 times the sine of 65 is equal to x, and so we can just plug into our calculator 25 times the sine of 65, and we're going to get 22.65769 equals x. Again, they asked me to round to the nearest meter, so this is really going to be 23 meters. But again, don't put the x equals, just put the number 23 into the program, okay? So you're going to see, I think it's 5 different questions that are similar, but slightly different. So you're going to go through those. That'll be your assignment. And then on the next video, on Wednesday, we'll talk about taking some notes on something called angle of depression and angle of elevation. They'll still be trig word problems. Will still be SohCahToa, but we'll be using this vocabulary, angle of depression, angle of elevation. Hope that helps. Hope that everyone's doing well. And we'll see you on the next video.